What is up, guys? This is the most profitable football betting strategy I'm going to be breaking down for you in this short tutorial video. So when I'm betting on NFL or college football, this is the first thing I'm looking for. I'm doing every single day. There's a bunch of strategies you can use to make money, but this one's the best. So again, the reason that profitable sports betting is possible for anybody, I mean, if you watch a few YouTube videos, you'll be well on your way to beating the sports books. 97% of sports bettors lose money long term, but most of them never even invest 1 second in their sports betting education. So you're already doing the right thing, watching tutorials on sharp sports betting. But the reason sports betting is so accessible, profitable sports betting, is because all books set their own prices. All books want to be unique. So for example, you can see the under 10.5 first quarter points. This bet is minus 115 on Flip. On FanDuel, another sportsbook in my state, it's minus 145, a way worse price. So the fact that all books set their own odds and the market is extremely fragmented or inefficient, that's the reason that beating the sportsbooks is possible for anybody. Right? Like, it is a very fragmented, inefficient market. Sports betting legalized in the US in 2018 and hundreds of books have launched. And that's really the core of profitable sports betting, is just how inefficient the market is. So the strategy is called crossed market EV betting. It is by far the best strategy for having a high confidence in your edge, and it's pretty simple to understand. So a crossed market is also known as arbitrage. So basically, there's hundreds of sports books. Depending on what state you're in, you may have 5 sports books available, 10 books, 20 books, whatever. But there's a lot of sports books. So basically, all these books are running around, setting their own odds, and sometimes they get out of sync, right? So when 2 books get super out of sync and become crossed, that's also known as arbitrage. One of the 2 bets has to be profitable. So I'll give you a simple example of a crossed market bet I locked in. I played this under 10.5 first quarter points for week 0 of college football, Stanford, Hawaii at minus 115 odds. Again, the price you're getting matters. A lot of people say, okay, you're on the under, who cares? I'm getting the under at minus 115. The price matters, right? It's like being a trader. You know, when I was a trader, there's a difference between buying something at $115 and $145. So basically, out of the millions of odds across the books that are legal in my state, Virginia, there's only a few plays, a very small percentage, 0.1% of plays, let's say, where the market is crossed or arbitrage. So arbitrage just means that the 2 sports books have such different prices, they're so out of sync, that I could bet equal and opposite outcomes. In this case, it's the over on FanDuel at plus 116, the under on Flip at minus 115 to guarantee a risk-free profit. So I could do that. I bet $1,000 on Flip. So if I just pull up an arbitrage calculator, it's going to tell me to play approximately $865 on FanDuel. And if I do that, I will make a risk-free profit of $4. So I didn't do that, but just for the sake of example, I always recommend when you're arbitrage betting or just sports betting in general, round your bet sizes. You don't want to sketch out the sports books. But let's just say I do that. I bet $865 on FanDuel to hedge and just make a risk-free profit. So basically, if the game goes under on Flip, I bet $1,000 at minus 115 odds. So I'm going to go up 869.57, right? If there's 10 points or less in the first quarter on Flip, I'm going to make 869.57. On FanDuel, I lose 865. My net profit is 457. There's going to be slight differences compared to the arbitrage calculator. Again, it's because I'm rounding my bet size. I'm rounding to the nearest whole number on FanDuel, 865. So if the game goes under, I make 457. If the game goes over, I lose $1,000 on Flip. But on FanDuel, I'm going to win 865 times 1.16, which is $1,000, $1,003.40. So basically, I'm going to go up 340 in profit if the game goes over 10.5 first quarter points. So regardless of what happens, if there's 0 or 25 points, it doesn't matter in the first quarter. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to make money. But by definition, one of these two plays has to be a profitable bet. With 100% confidence, we know for a fact the over on FanDuel at plus 116 or the under on Fliff at minus 115 is a profitable bet. Because again, I could bet both of these. I could hedge, arbitrage bet to make a risk-free profit. So I have 100% confidence that either the over at plus 116 on FanDuel or the under at minus 115 on Fliff is a profitable bet. So that's why cross-market EV betting is so amazing. You have such a high confidence in your edge. So what I did is I checked out the other sports books, and what you're going to notice is Fliff has no lean in their market. They're giving you the same price, the same odds on both the over and the under, minus 115, minus 115 juice. Every other sports book has the under heavily favored, right? FanDuel has the under at minus 145, other books kind of in the same range. So it's clear that Fliff is the book offering this play with an edge. So this is a crossed market. We know one of the two bets has to be profitable. If you check out the rest of the market, other sports books, they kind of confirm, hey, yes, FanDuel's correct. The under should be the bigger favorite. The value is on Fliff. So that's the play I locked in. And I, again, have extreme confidence in my edge because the market is crossed. And obviously having confidence in your edge is critical as a sharp sports bettor. Another thing to mention is even if there weren't other books posting odds, I would still prefer to play the bet on Fliff, the under 10.5 at minus 115. We know one of the two bets has to be profitable, and FanDuel is a sharper sports book, right? FanDuel is a $40 billion company. It's a much bigger book. They have teams of data scientists. It's a harder sports book to make money on. Like if you look at my net profit on FanDuel versus Fliff, on Fliff I'm up way more money. It's the softer book, the easier book to beat. So if I had to pick a bet, if there was a crossed market with no other books posting odds, no DraftKings, no other books, no other data points in the market, and FanDuel and Fliff were crossed, I would always take the Fliff play. Because again, Fliff is the softer book, the easier book to beat. So if it's a crossed market, and we know one of the two bets has to be plus EV, I'm gonna run the play on Fliff. So this is crossed market EV betting. It is a super sharp, profitable strategy. I use it all the time. Sometimes I'll decide to arbitrage bet and just take the risk-free money. You know, and if you don't want to take a lot of risk as a sports bettor this football season, you can consider arbitrage betting. You know, Arb Thief is a pro sports bettor. All he does is arbitrage betting. So making these risk-free profits. He has it down to a science. He knows which books are most exploitable, when to check for arbitrage bets. He gives free trainings every single week, so you can tune into one of those. I am definitely a higher risk, higher return type of person. I don't mind a little bit of variance. So I lean, instead of arbitrage betting, I focus more on crossed market EV betting. So let me show you how to implement crossed market EV betting. And I'm just gonna go through examples. Some of these are gonna be football, but this strategy works for any sport, baseball, tennis, whatever. So I use it on every single sport. And again, this is the main strategy I used on, DraftKings Sportsbook. So you can see my account here. I'm up 218K on DraftKings lifetime. And this is the main strategy I'm using. It's super simple to do. So what you want to do is you want to put in the sharp sports books and the soft sports books. So I'll give you a simple example. Is Circa, right? So I should actually remove Bet365 and Hard Rock just because I don't have them pulled up, but those are two of the easiest books to beat. But here's a very simple example, okay? Right? I don't even use Pinnacle. I don't use this sports book. It's not legal in the US. I don't bet on it. I'm looking at their odds as a source of information. So what you're going to notice is DraftKings, very similar to the Fliff example we went through. This is a tennis play. They have this line minus 115, minus 115. There's no juice. All the other books have the over heavily favored. The market is crossed. So Pinnacle and DraftKings are crossed. Pinnacle has up to 1.3K betting limits. DraftKings is also crossed with Bet 105. So we know DraftKings or Pinnacle has to be the profitable bet. Pinnacle is the sharpest, smartest book for tennis. So we know the bet with an edge is on DraftKings. So what I can do is OddsJam, makes it very easy with one-click bet, is I can literally just click this little bet button, right? It takes me right to DraftKings. Here's the play. And then I can get this locked in. Unfortunately, they're going to limit me because, again, I'm up a ton of money on this sportsbook. But it is what it is. So now I got this play locked in. And again, Bet365, Hard Rock are soft books, right? They're very easy to beat. So this strategy is amazing, not only for DraftKings, but for Bet365, stuff like that. So here's another play. Veronica Burton over 4.5 assists. This is Novig, a peer-to-peer betting exchange. Depending on the liquidity, it's a super sharp book, right? So here you can see 373 bucks in liquidity. So I have a couple options. I could just arbitrage bet this, Novig versus DraftKings, take the risk-free 1644 in profit. But I'm not going to do that. You check out the market. Every other book has this, minus 140, minus 155. It's a crossed market. It's very simple. You just literally hit the bet button, move on, hide the bet once you bet it. Walker Bueller, right? Here's another play. Yep, crossed market. I could arbitrage bet this, a ton of liquidity on Novig, 700 bucks. Could make a risk-free 28.57, but the value's on the DraftKings side. I treat my sports betting like, the S&P 500. I'm placing a bunch of bets. Every bet has an edge, and I just let the math work itself out. So I literally just go down the list. DraftKings is the soft book. So in general, for all these plays where it's DraftKings versus Novig or ProfitX, a sharp peer-to-peer betting exchange, or Pinnacle, Circa, the sharpest sports books, I'm literally just taking the DraftKings side. So I bet this, I bet this. But let's see, is there any other examples that are more interesting, something like that? Like here's one on Onyx odds. Again, this isn't only a strategy that works on DraftKings. So here's an example of a crossed market. So maybe we get rid of DraftKings for a sec because I use this all the time on FanDuel as well. Here's a play on Fliff, but I don't have my phone pulled up right now. So maybe we go here. And you can see FanDuel actually just adjusted the line. So you need to move quickly, which is why it's actually pretty nice to have this one-click bet where you can literally just click. This takes me right to FanDuel. I guess I got to log back in. So let's log back into FanDuel. No problem. And then I can bet this real quick. And again, on FanDuel, it's another book. They're only going to give me $99.40 unlimited. But that's basically cross-market EV betting. It's like, okay, I was able to bet $99 on FanDuel. I could go to Novig, hedge, and just make a risk-free profit of 57 cents. But if you're placing a bunch of cross-market bets that have an edge, just let the math work itself out. That's always what I say. And here you can see that football example we went through. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video. And thank you so much for your time. Comment any other questions or videos you want to see from me.